Oh, okay. That's hard. I feel like number one is realizing that failure and disappointment are a part of life. Like, as pessimistic as that sounds, I feel like it's about like understanding that life doesn't like come in this perfect picture map that you've planned out for yourself, and that's completely fine. And it doesn't happen for everyone. Like, no one has lived their life completely planned, completely perfect, because the people who you think might, have it all and who have like a smooth road planned out for them might have other issues that they're dealing with at the moment. So I think it's like understanding that life doesn't always have to be perfect, and failure can happen at some times. And I guess like I was having a chat to like my mom about this, because mom is sort of slightly older, than us. So I guess like to older people who've been through their life, she's really thought about like what are some of the things that has led her to have, to be in the situation that she's in today. And she's sort of thought that there are lots of failures in life that at the time she thought were like major, and she thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be in the end, like why does this happen to me? But then you start realizing that these failures pointed towards the road that she's currently on now, and they were probably better than, like, it was probably the better path to take, as opposed to if something did work out for her at the time. So I think it's also making the most of the situation and just sort of acknowledging that, life doesn't always go out the way that is planned, and it's okay. But also, it's okay to take a few days to sulk. Like, that's completely fine. Like if you want to, junk on like ice cream and just like avoid studying and just, withdraw for a couple of days, like that's completely fine and justified. Yeah.
If you want to cry and really process it, cry, because like better out than in.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, and I don't want to say distract yourself, but to an extent you kind of have to cope. I remember when I was in uni, I wanted to pass everything all in one go. Like, I had put this on myself, this goal on myself, and there was this law subject that I had to do.
Oh god.
I remember this.
Yeah, and this was during COVID, and I was already feeling really crap as it was, because I felt like I just felt stagnated, and I felt like I wasn't doing great in life in general, and then I have to go to uni, and I'm not even like learning anything at this point. I'm just like half awake. And anyway, I failed my law subject. Luckily, I had the opportunity to resit the exam, and I worked my ass off to pass. But I was sometimes you kind of expect failure, and it's okay to fail. But if you do get a second chance, like I did, and I was lucky to get a second chance, you try your best, just like you did before. And and dealing with failure, everybody's different. Like someone close to me, I didn't do so well in a certain subject, and they were distraught. And it's okay to feel those emotions, but if you're feeling emotions that are so intense that you're hurting yourself, it's best to seek professional help. And if you really can't navigate those really intense emotions, I would suggest like seek help, because when we are feeling unwell physically, we go to a doctor and like, I have an ailment here, I have a backache here. And I think that's the same with feelings of failure, or like panic attacks, or like anxiety. It's best to get it checked out, because at the end of the day, your brain holds so much, and you want to be able to make good decisions and clear decisions that make sense for you and your life. And if you can't cope with it, you should go like seek help and really understand what is the problem and what's the main issue. But yeah, And I agree with what you were saying, like take a few days off, cry, or like maybe even distract yourself. And then if you really, really can't move on and it's really hurting you, go talk to someone, seek professional help, because you shouldn't be living in that sort of space all the time. It impacts your quality of life. And it impacts the relationships around you. So that's what I was.
I think I've been someone who's like felt failure very deeply, and one thing I've had to do is distance myself from it. It's like I've had to set a boundary around academic failure, and I've had to have other eggs in my basket so I don't feel the failure so deeply, and just having other things to look forward to, or having the capacity to be able to change something in what initially caused that failure in the first place. That's how you get yourself out of it. So that's my personal take on it.
I agree. And failure isn't the end all. Sometimes you need to understand, unfortunately, what failure feels like, so that you can understand what success really is. Because we all go through moments where like we really messed up this time, and like you were saying, you never know what doors that failure might open up. And it may feel like a do-all end-all, but sometimes it's like a blessing in disguise. It's like, oh my god, thank god I bounced that. Like, you know, you like,
definitely.
so it's really okay, because everybody has a really long life ahead, and there will be so many instances, unfortunately, where you will feel like you failed. Because life is long. But there will also be moments where you're like, so this is what success feels like. So this is what it means to be successful. And success and failure isn't the same for everybody. Something that you, or like one of us might think is a failure, the other person might think, oh my god, that you are so successful. What do you mean you failed? That's so good.
That's so true,
It means success and failure means different things to different people, and what you define it as is different. Like I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was saying, for me, success is having something of my own, like having a peaceful life, buying my own house, doing well at work, having a work-life balance. For some, it may mean having a lot of money. For others, it may mean building really good personal relationships. So it's okay if at the moment you feel like a failure or you failed. It's just a small blip in your really long road to success.
I think what gives me comfort as well is the fact that I guess we're all sort of like younger and towards the start of our lives. But I remember listening to a lot of like people who have like really made it, like, you know, they're the professors and they've written like thousands of journal articles and they're like here in leading hospitals and all of that. And they, you know, talk about all of their failures, and it's like, and some of them are really big, like, you know, mess ups, like, and they're still able to, you know, get through life and still be able to be successful at the end of the day. So like, I think even the most successful people have messed up majorly in their life. And I think one of them, you know, and I think Chetna was touching on this earlier, is it's the failures that make success so like, you know, rewarding, because it doesn't happen like every day, you know. So I
think one thing I want to add as well to this topic of failure and disappointment is not just after you've experienced failure, but I think a lot of times people stop themselves from jumping at an experience or doing something that they want to do because of the fear of failure and disappointment. So rather than doing something and having the possibility of failing, they're like, I'm just not going to do it, that way I never fail. And I think that's a really it's a really hard mindset to get out of, but it can also be really unhealthy because it stops you from doing so many different things and experiencing so many new things. And I think the biggest thing for me personally, getting out of that mindset, because I think that links into anxiety as well. Like you're really scared and you're like, you think of like the 20,000 different possibilities. I don't know if anyone's watched Inside Out 2, but that one scene where they were like, think of like every single thing that can go. Spoiler alert! Anxiety's in Inside Out 2. But it's like you think of like all of the ways that you're going to fail. Like you rarely ever think about, I'm gonna do so great in this scenario, I'm gonna do so great in this scenario. It's kind of like, I would fail and it'd be because of this, or it's gonna be because of this, or it's gonna be because of this, or because of this. So I feel like being able to acknowledge that as well. And I think the biggest thing for me was thinking to myself, what is the worst thing that can happen? Because you think about all the ways you're gonna fail, but like realistically, what is actually the worst thing that's going to happen? And I would like talk through it myself. I'm like, okay, let's say I did fail this one thing I want to do. What's gonna happen? If this relationship doesn't work out, I cry about it, I move on. I don't get the job, there's plenty of other jobs out there I can apply for. If I fail this exam, okay, fine. I'll do a supplementary, I'll just work harder and life will go on. And I think like just being able to reason that out with yourself really helps with feeling more comfortable with taking steps towards new opportunities. And like when you look at your life now, like you might be 15, you might be 20, you might be 30, like you're doing fine, right? Like chances are most of us have experienced failure at some point, right? You're fine where you are now. Like at the end of the day, 2-3 years down the track, it's not really going to matter. And I think a lot of times you feel the embarrassment of like, if I fail, other people are going to know I failed as well. But it's going back to that again. No one's going to really care. Like 5 years from now, no one's going to be like, Chetna, 5 years ago, you failed this one thing. How dare you? Do you know what I mean? Like people's going to be like no one really cares. So
That's so true.
don't be afraid of failing or disappointing yourself or other people as a reason why you should stop yourself from doing things. Because I feel like that's a really big thing that doesn't go addressed as well. Like,
yes, definitely.
Like as you were saying before, like stopping yourself from actually doing the thing because you might fail. But what if you don't fail?
Exactly.
And okay, so what if someone sees you fail? Well, they'll think about it for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, okay, a day. They'll forget, just like you forgot that you 5 years ago I failed this thing. It will be like, oh wait, oh yeah, I actually did fail. You won't remember. And I agree with you. It's best to just try, make a mistake, and then get back up again. Then regret not doing it, because I feel like that the feeling of regret is painful and is sort of like closely connected to failure. And I hope nobody regrets anything in their life, or like not doing the thing that they most wanted to do.
Well, I think sort of this is similar to what you guys already said, but I read that there was a good sort of technique that you can do if you find yourself ruminating about a particular thing. Just ask yourself, like, is this going to affect you in 5 years' time? I think I told you that. And if the answer is no, then it's not something that you should be ruminating. Like, it's not worth ruminating about.
I think that's so true. And I feel like that applies a lot to VCE. Like when we were in VCE, like I remember every single stack I'd look and I'd be like, oh my god, like I'm like hopeless, I'm doomed. But like really, how much are the exams? How much is that 1 mark going to cost you? Does it really matter in the end? And then like once you get into uni, like nobody really cares anymore.
If
like,
you talk about your 8-12 pass uni, like
What is that?
Like
What is that?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the time we think that VCE like doesn't give a lot of room for failure, but it's to realize that you can actually lose a lot of marks and still get a decent like it doesn't have to be perfect.
Like I'm thinking about VCE and I just remembered I almost failed SAC. Like, and I was like, my world is ending as we know it. I'm gonna get a really bad ATAR. I didn't get the ATAR I was expecting, and I still ended up doing pretty well. Still got into Monash. Still got into still did a double degree. Like you know, just because you don't get the mark or the score that you're expecting doesn't mean that aren't pathways to get to where you want to go. And talking like this is getting a little sidetracked, but okay, growing up in an Asian household, it's like you're wasting your time, you're wasting a year, like a year is gone. You have so many years, you have so many minutes and so many hours. It's okay if you don't get it the first time. Maybe that wasn't the best thing for you. Like, it's going back to like, take your time, your pace, and if you don't get what you were expecting, there's still a pathway where you can go where you want to go.
Also, with the ATAR thing, it's only been 2 years, and I literally don't give a about it anymore.
It's okay, you can beep yourself
You can
out.
make yourself queen. No, but that's so true. Like, I remember even the first weeks of high school, of uni, where if you hear people talking like, "What ATAR did you get?" Like, I got this ATAR, immediately you're kind of like, you got into the course already. Like, why are you asking? Okay, you got 0.5 more than this other person. Like, congratulations.
Oh God,
Do you want a medal? Like, you and I are in the same exact place, bestie. Like,
I didn't do well in high school. I found it really hard to cope with not the subject matter, but just the workload. I found uni was a lot more freeing for me because I learnt things at my own pace, but I was also a very independent learner. Whereas in high school, the teachers are there to like help you, and they're sort of like your rock to a certain extent. I went to the teacher. There were times where I'd go to the teacher and the teacher would be like, "You don't need to understand it. You just need to know it." And I was like, this is not how you study. And then when I got to uni, I was like, oh, this is so good. I can like learn my way. I don't need to learn a certain way. Because some people struggle at uni and some people like the high school format better. And sometimes it's the other way around. Like, I enjoyed my uni experience. Well, in person anyway. Online was I'm not going to talk about that. Online was a struggle, but so it's just a learning curve, to be honest, and getting used to the changes in your learning.
Definitely.
But please, once you graduate BCE, once you get that paper, don't mention the A in ATAR. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Yeah. So what everyone get for their age?
Oh my god.
No,
So triggered.
so triggered, trauma, flashbacks,
Did you
everything.
remember to put their ATAR in the hinge? That would be so funny. Honestly. If I flex the ATAR in the hinge, I would actually cry. That would be so
Wait,
funny.
do people actually do that?
Well, I think people should. Like
Yo, I wouldn't
that would be
even-
so funny. Just
Yo,
imagine.
And there was a filter, 95 and above.
That would be so funny.
Yo, I would not even be
Oh my
like,
God.
I wouldn't be getting any dates then, girl. Just no.
That would be so funny.
Yeah.